Coming to you from the M&M Exterior Studio in Knoxville, Virginia, this is Flushing It Out with Samantha Spittle, the introvert's extrovert. She talks to people so you don't have to. For now.
So I've took a few notes here, as everybody can see, as I was scrolling through on my phone. Lawanda talked about creating a safe space, a safe place, safe time, where you communicate. But I find it, even trying to communicate, none of that even really matters as well, because it's still going to be hard to communicate something that you really, because you don't really know how to articulate it. I know in the beginning of our marriage, I really didn't know how to communicate to Lawanda because I didn't want to hurt her feelings based off of what I said. And because my words come out so sharp, and I know they do, is that I know that I would hurt her feelings, and I didn't want that to happen. So I had to learn on how to communicate to her in a way that she would receive it and that it wouldn't hurt her feelings, but that she would know how I really was feeling.
And how did you do that?
So I'm glad you asked. Okay.
Very good.
Yes. So I've done a few different things. Is I've either wrote or sent her an email, sent her a text message, or written a letter where she could be able to find it to really kind of express in long form kind of how I'm feeling. Kind of the story in my head is, this is how I'm feeling right now. This is how I feel that you've offended me, or that this is how I'm hurt. This is how I'm hurt based off of what you've done to me and all the other kind of stuff. And then that way she can see everything that I'm feeling. And then automatically, it's almost like with every word that you write, you know, you just feel the stress just coming off of you to where now, although it may not even be delivered yet, you already feel relieved. Yeah. You know, that, man, things are already better. And so that's just with different ways that that I've done, even when I know that I'm not going to be able to physically look her in the eye and communicate something that is going to be hard to talk about it, that I send it to her in that way.
I feel like we're the same person.
Well, yes, you know, hey, we can be.
I was going to ask Jeremy, I use that example a lot to talk about you doing that. Yeah. So do you want to piggyback on that and share anything you've learned from that?
Well, so I send emails to Samantha too, or texts when stuff's going on, because I'm an internal processor. She needs to process verbally. I need to process just thinking about it mentally, and that's something that we've figured out over time, that she wants to talk about it and I don't, because I need to just think about it, and talking doesn't help. So that's when an email comes in handy, you know, and I'll send her an email or a text or something like that. But just recently, I decided that I needed to send her an email that had just good stuff.
I'm laughing because I got it.
Well, normally she gets emails from me and it's, hey, this is what's bothering me. I need to explain how I'm feeling about this. The end.
And I don't mind receiving them, I should add, because a tip I was going to give is that you edit them well. And it's not edit as in taking stuff out. It's, how is this, like Darren, you were saying, how is this coming across? Am I using things like you did this versus I'm feeling like? Yeah. It gives him time to do that so that I can receive it. Yeah. And the reason I laughed is because I actually like getting his emails, even though they usually have to do with Discord or something. Right. I like it, though, because, of course, I'm a communicator. I want to know what is in your head. So I always like getting his emails. Also, it brings me back to like those texts. I am days, you know, like, ooh, little message from my guy. Yeah. So I like getting his emails, but, so it's like this dual feeling of, oh, I'm excited to hear from him. I'm excited to hear his feelings, but then I always know it's going to be like, ugh. Yeah. Or so I'm going to have to be patient and listen. So
the last one I sent, I was sitting at work and I was just thinking about her and how much I loved her. Aww. So I wrote an email that was all good stuff, like, hey, I like this about you. I think, you know, we're doing great. It's nothing negative. Okay. So I think a good tip for the listeners would be, if you're going to go the email route, throw some good ones in every once in a while.
Yes.
And I will. So I got to my car after a meeting and I saw an email from him, and so I had to like, yay, an email. And then I went, oh crap, this means, oh man, I got to start. I have to like,
that means something's wrong.
I gotta, you know, and I gotta be what I've learned, which is to receive it and hear it. So I was kind of preparing my heart like, oh yes, it's a roller coaster. And then I opened it and he says, I know the first paragraph, I know I usually send you, but this is just, and I was like, oh my gosh, praise the Lord. So nice. I appreciated it.
All right.
So,
Yeah.
Awesome.
yeah. Lawanda, what have you learned from either just marriage or the unscripted marriage since kind of diving in and publicly sharing?
I've learned that people change over marriage, from beginning to middle to end to in between. People change, and things, situations in life cause us to change. And I've learned that being flexible and being able to adapt to change is a really good trait to have in marriage. And if you are unable to do that, then you've got some working to do because people change.
Yeah.
And within change, sometimes they don't know that they're changing, and they don't know how to communicate the change. And so as a spouse, it's imperative that you notice that your spouse is changing, or you notice that there's a shift within them, and that you communicate that and you talk and say, I noticed something and there's something different. Is there something you need to tell me about? Is there something going on? And open those lines of communication and talk about things that are changing and things that are moving, so that you guys can continue to be on one accord and move and shift together.
Darren, did you have something to add to that?
Yes. So to what she was saying, this is all about using your time wisely. We had couples, and we had this one husband, and he was like, man, I vacuum my wife's car out every day. I do this, I do that. And she just don't appreciate it. And the wife was like, I don't care if the van is clean. You know what I'm saying? I'm fine with the van being dirty.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That gets into the love languages.
You know, this is the love languages, right?
Yeah.
And it's like we spend so much time thinking that, okay, we like our van to be clean, but our spouse necessarily may not like that. And so if we really want to put the time in to really say, hey, babe, I'm doing this for you, then I think really paying attention to the love languages and what they're going through and the changes, like Lawanda mentioned, is important, so that you can use your time wisely and really dedicate your time to doing acts of service, or doing gifts, or taking your wife out, or giving her compliments and stuff like that. I think that using that time is wise.
It's great.
Yeah.
You mentioned secrets before. Do you want to touch on that?
So some people say, well, should you keep a secret from your spouse?
Ooh.
That is the question. Should you keep a secret from your spouse? And surprisingly, some people do say yes, should you hold things from your spouse? This can be debatable, yes or no. A lot of people do say yes, a lot of people do say no. And the reason they say that is because it depends on the situation. Because if there's, of course, something that you're trying to protect them from, or whether it's a job situation, or you're, CIA or FBI,
Security clearance.
You've got some kind of, of course you're not going to be sharing a lot of information that you really can't share, a lot of information, because it could be harmful to your family. However, the secrets that I believe are maybe things that your spouse may be holding from you that could harm your family and really harm themselves, that's something that should be brought to attention. Some marriages, they experience like drug addictions or any type of addictions. And when those secrets are kept, then that gets into, now you're lying to me about where you're going. And now you're trying to hide this. And then we get into infidelity issues and things like that. Darren said something, I can't remember what the actual quote was, but about secrets. And he's just like, I just had to let it all out. I just had to tell Lawanda everything, because I'm free. I'm free to be myself. I'm free to be who I am with her now, because I don't have any secrets. I don't have anything to expose, to try to hide, because now I'm just open. I'm free to communicate. And it's hard to hide stuff when you're married. It's hard. It's hard to keep trying to cover up or hide, or, it's very difficult. You want to add to that?
Some people or parents would say, I better hear from you, because if I got to hear from somebody else,
right.
Yeah.
it's going to be trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, why didn't you tell me this? And, I I shared my issue with some of my trusted fellas or whatever. And it was like, man, no big deal. Everybody does that. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, well, it's a big deal for me. I'm married. You know what I'm saying? And I just don't want to be holding this secret from her. And then I just found the courage to do it. And I was like, babe, I got this thing going on, you know what I'm saying? And I really want to tell you. I can't remember if I wrote it to you or if I just told you.
You just verbally told me.
I just verbally told you. And I was just like, babe, you know, this is my issue. And she was like, oh, okay. You know, well, however you need my help through this process, you know, I'm there for you. Mm-hmm. And, you know, for a man to really have the strength to let his secret out like that, is so empowering. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you feel like you feel like you're on top of the world. You know what I'm saying? Like, so if my wife got my back, you know what I'm saying? I'm good. I mean, my philosophy right now is if my wife got me and encouraged me, I mean, can't nobody stop me. I can go through a brick wall.
It's so difficult to get that courage to be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. Especially if you've been vulnerable and been shot down in the past from your spouse.
Mm-hmm. True. Yeah. Right.
So that's why I think, Lawanda, going back to what you said earlier about having the conversations before you have them, and it's that, so if I feel like, okay, if someone's listening, it's that, okay, there's a hard issue. So you don't have to just say, okay, what happens if X happens? What happens if Y happens? You don't even have to go through the laundry list. It's that, what would happen if I told you something that you did not want to hear? Right. Then it's like, okay, that's where I need to do some soul searching and say, well, I would want to be pissed and effing do this or that because that's how I feel. But I would need to be patient, loving, because if I've decided like I love you and I want to, you know, support you, that I need to receive the information. It reminds me of just with parenting too. You know, we're telling our kids, they're getting older now. And so it's the whole, you can tell me anything. Don't ever be afraid to tell me anything. Yet if every time they tell me something, I'm giving them the look of, you know better than that. And how could you do that? And well, then I'm realizing, oh, I'm telling them they can tell me anything. But every time they do say something that's not perfect or something, if I'm reacting, showing them you're not doing it the right way, well, then why are they ever going to come to me and tell me they made a mistake? And so I feel like I've kind of had to realize it's not just, I can't just say to Jeremy, oh, you know, I'll receive if you have something you want to share with me, whether it's you being vulnerable, you talking about something I'm doing, honey, you can tell me anything. I'm here to communicate. And then every time he does, I react. Yeah. Horns come out like Darren just said. It's like, oh, it's my actions, not my words.
It's more like what is it now?
Yeah. Because a lot of, and to be honest, I was ready to receive whatever he had, but that was just me.
Yeah.
But lot you did of women the work. Are not.
But I would say you did the work. Or, you know, you were primed, whether it was your upbringing or whatever. Mm-hmm. And that's the part where we not only should communicate, hey, he was vulnerable and we need hey guys, be vulnerable. But you're sending someone into, I don't know if it's the best analogy, like the lion's den. Yeah. Like, go do it. Where so this is a two-way street. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's what we need to also mention.
It is. Because that's why I was saying in the beginning that it's 50-50 because you can't really say that, yes, you should hold secrets or yes, you should tell secrets because, yes, he may be vulnerable to tell them, but then on the other end, they may not be ready to receive it. Mm-hmm. And if they're not ready to receive it, then that's a whole nother thing that's going to come out on the end and then it gets tricky. But however, secrets are bad. They're just bad, period. It leads to a lot of things that are hidden. And then when those hidden things are entertained, then they begin to grow and grow into different things. And then in the end, it's going to be a big explosion anyway. Yes. A few years ago, I worked at a hotel, an establishment, and I saw a guy creeping. I used to see it all the time. I didn't know he was creeping until the next day.
You better
creeping.
But so for the listeners that don't know creeping,
for the listeners that don't know creeping, married man creeping means married man sleeping with another female at another hotel. Married man comes into hotel with woman. Woman pays for a room so that married man does not have to pay for a room. Lawanda works overnight at a hotel doing night audit. She peeps this. She says nothing. But
you knew the guy?
That did not know the guy until the next day. Oh. The married man was talking to Lawanda, if he wasn't trying to talk to Lawanda, overly talk to Lawanda, trying to find out where she was from and all this gibberish, then I would have never paid any attention to him. So anyway, so he came in. I didn't know him from whatever. He was trying to ask me all these questions. The lady, she was just trying to get into the room. They went up to the room. He then leaves at 3:00 in the morning. So the very next day, I had to host an event. And guess who I look up and see? It's the same guy. You should have seen his face. Like, how are you here? And the event was about an hour and a half away from the place that I worked at. The very same day, he was at the event sitting next to his wife and his child and his mother-in-law.
Heartbreaking.
And so I said nothing to this family. I just went over and greeted them, but I'm hosting this event that he's attending, and you should have seen the look on his face. But I could also discern that the family wasn't happy. You could kind of see the dynamics of the family, and that there was already something that was going on there. So there was no need for me to even interrupt or even say anything. But I've seen it a lot, and I see where secrets can hurt families and really do a lot of damage. So it's a lot. It's just a lot with marriage. But we're not here to talk about the negative stuff. We're here to talk about happy things.
I feel like we need to sing or something. Bring the mood back up again.
Feel free to edit. Feel free to edit this out. But
but that's the important. Like that's told the other day. I said I would like to talk to the director of the human trafficking initiative out here, and they looked at me like I was crazy because they know that I love humor and whatnot. And I said, and I will curse on this because it drives the point home. I looked at her and I said, I know I love humor. I said, but I talk about shit so that we can peel back the layers to get to the real shit. Like that is what I'm about, and I probably need to clean that up for like sharing purposes.
Yeah, we'll edit it.
We'll just throw but that's my heart though. My heart is connecting with people. And yes, I love telling funny stories to connect because joy and laughter brings us together.
Yeah.
But what's the point of being connected if we're all just hiding pain and secrets and whatnot? Like, that's no way to live either. Just a BS happy woo woo. Like, it's all fake then. The reason I think you guys have joy in your marriage, and I think I can speak for Jeremy and I, the reason we have a real friendship with our marriage and is that we're honest and it comes down to the secrets. Yeah. Now, hopefully this doesn't get used in a soundbite one day when horrible secrets could come out about either one of us, Jeremy. But, that's, I think, part of it is that we don't shy away from the hard conversations and we don't want to fight. We're just a happy couple. We just push everything down. It's like, no, we're willing to have the conversations.
I don't think you can have the hard conversations if you're not having the small, easy conversations either. Just to go back to what you were talking, like, if you can't just communicate on a regular basis about how to load the dishes or, doing the bed in the morning or cleaning the car out on a Saturday, if you can't communicate with your spouse about that stuff, you're never going to be able to have that hard conversation. If somebody's holding a secret.
Yeah. Well, if you feel let down, like it kind of, goes back to the trivial example of the dishwasher. If I'm getting on you that you can't do anything right and continually harping on you, and you come to me that you have an addiction in some way to something, and I'm disappointed in you as a man and a person because you can't load the dishwasher right, how the heck are we going to get to that? So yeah, it's almost like, the dishwasher is the bunny slope. When you're skiing, like, that's your practice round and you figure out, okay, how can we communicate? How can you receive it so that when the black diamond comes, the hardest?
The double black diamond.
I was just gonna say something like that. You just made a point. I was gonna make another example,
but
please
share the example.
Yours is gonna be better.
Drive it home, Jeremy. Come on now.
Of course not. Hers is always better.
We get both of them. I use the best one. Don't worry.
So we talk about building up and building the relationships up, and so 1 + 1 = 2 adds up to you being able to do harder math and all the other kind of stuff. And so why can't we use that same thing in relationships and how we build? Let's start with solving the small problems first, so that we can use that momentum to get to the more difficult ones.
Yeah, eventually you get to quantum theory.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Which I have no idea about, but yes, you get there soon.
Me neither.
And then we talk about, and then another thing that you had mentioned too was talking about being free, and people are out here living in prison in their mind.
Yes.
You know, where they can't be free, and they're so afraid to share their truth because they don't know how people are going to receive it. You know, I just posted something on Facebook the other day about soldiers committing suicide.
Yes.
It's because they just have so much stuff going. I'm a soldier too,
Yes.
you know, a veteran too. It's just like, we have
you.
so many things in our mind that Lawanda even can't understand when I try to communicate to her. Fortunately, she was in one of my therapy sessions, so I can kind of speak and she can kind of see, but some stuff I can't talk about because I just don't know how she would receive it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and stuff that we see and in your mind and all the other kind of stuff. And I think it's just even with marriage and relationships is that, you know, people go through so many different things, and on the outside world, people don't understand, you know, what people are going through in their mind, but they're so quick to judge. And then now we, even down to bullying and all this other kind of stuff where it's all relational, you know, where it's all relationship based, is that people just don't know how to express their feelings, and we're not giving people an outlet besides the flushing it out, obviously. But, you know, we're not giving people an outlet to communicate how they really feel.
Yeah.
And so now they just grow up with all this contentment, with all this hurt, with all this frustration, and it ends up with, oh, I'm going to go to a school and I'm going to do this crazy stuff, or I'm going to go into you know, a club, and I'm gonna go and shoot up 100-something people.
And it's that narrative that you tell yourself that I'm the only one.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're not the only one.
Nobody will understand that what I'm going through.
Yeah, and that's what's hard is that I know there's some things we talked about today that people would say, well, what is it though? What's the thing? They want to know the thing. Like, what was your issue? What was your secret? Da, da, da. And it's not about that. It's not about the specific thing, because what I think about a lot and what I've been fearful of to do the podcast, to put myself out there, is the oversharing, is to open yourself up to, you know, criticism and just hurt and things like that. And so it's figuring out that fine line of how do we share honestly and openly certain things, but then also keeping certain things close hold for your marriage, your family, et cetera. And I think everyone's line is different of what you want to share, but reiterating the fact just to listeners that not to get stuck on the details, just to, like Jeremy just said, that whatever you're going through, you're not alone. And, you know, that, and take the lessons away of, you know, the whatever it is that for you, but whether it's communication or whatnot, talking about the hard things.
We had a couple in one of our classes, and he had expressed his desire to want to have a relationship with his kids. And he's like, the only way that I have the strength to be able to ask the group for help, prayer, and all the other kind of stuff is because Darren and Lawanda, you have been so transparent with us that now I have the confidence to actually talk about my truth and what I'm going through. And so a lot of people, I think, just want real stuff. Like the one thing that irritates me is that people say, yeah, I just keep it real. But it's always being negative, though. It's always like
criticizing.
Yeah, you know, it's always, I'm gonna just tell you how it is because I keep it real. But nobody likes to keep it real with their feelings and what they're really feeling on the inside. It's always about, I'm gonna keep it real by just telling you how trifling you are or how you ain't no good. But it's not the truth about saying, look, I'm really struggling and I really want to get through this. And hey, I need some people to come beside me and really help me through this journey.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. All right. So we talked about earlier, Samantha, you mentioned earlier about sharing with other people. And so what I found helpful for me when I'm sharing with other people is just really stating how I can be a better husband.
Yeah. And that goes back to the intention, people who are for your marriage. So that's what I always say is I'm sharing this to figure out what I need to do, like to be better, not to put him down.
Right.
I don't know if you were going that direction, but I was glad you brought that up.
Because I will always mention stuff like, well, this happened because this is what I didn't do. Give me some, and then when I'm talking to him, I'm like, well, give me some scenarios on how you got through this, you know, as a man, or how did you communicate this as a man? And I think although we're leaders of a marriage group, it's been so helpful to learn how different couples communicate, what they do in their happy place or in their safe place, or how they communicated different things, or how they're sharing. Or even how they're communicating, even in our class. Like, you know, how can it get better? You're here now. You made a decision to come into a class, but why? You know, was it just to check off the box? Or, you know, what was it? Do you really want to have a successful marriage? Like, is Marriage Class just for, or is Unscripted Marriage just for people that's down and out and having problems? Or is it for married couples that just want to really have fun and really continue thriving? You know, and so I think that's one thing that maybe even we want to do is really say, hey, couples that are happy, that, you know, that have regular everyday struggles, or not necessarily struggles, but are just living life together, best friends already, all that kind of stuff. Hey, this could be for you too. You know, we want everybody to kind of have fun within Unscripted Marriage.
Surprisingly, a large amount of our audience are singles.
Now, singles or divorced? Well, they're all single, but single, never married,
and divorced. Yes.
And I only ask that because it's like,
looking to get married, wanting tips on, marriage stuff, and then people who have been married and divorced. We get a lot of feedback from that group.
What would you say is something, if someone's in a place where they're not unhappy in their marriage, they're happy but want to make it better, what are some things they can do to kind of move towards that happier marriage?
I would just say that you have to be intentional about getting close to each other, building that relationship if it's not there, building that friendship continuously, date nights and laughing together, putting the kids to bed early, just having fun, snuggling up, cuddling up, watching TV together, just doing things together, going away, especially people who have kids, because parenting gets a little stressful and routine at times. So you have to set aside time to go away alone, away from the kids, and get back to when we first met and how we felt about each other when we first met, and just being intentional about dating your spouse continuously.
That's great.
So, my point is I'm kind of really just piggybacking off Lawanda, is your kids are not more important than your marriage.
That's so true.
Right.
And
sounds horrible.
I was going to say that comes across a lot of times controversial, but if you are the center of your family and everything springs from there, then
but priorities are important.
Yeah.
Priorities are very important. Where if you don't have your priorities straight, if your kids come before your wife, you're going to have issues.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And normally it's the wife that normally chooses the kids over the husband. I know when Lawanda and I first started having kids, and I was like, look, I can't stand these kids. I wasn't getting. You resent them, because I was like, I ain't getting none. I got the dad going. Every time I try to get something, the kid want to cry. I'm like, look, I'm tired of this. Look, it just adds so much.
I'm with you.
Animosity.
I was like, you don't like our kids? I was like, I love our kids, our babies. Look at them here, hold them.
What's the story? Like the lion eating their young or whatever? I'm like, I get it. I get that.
All right. And, I think it is important to, and as far as I know, I speak a lot from a husband's point of view, is you really, really have to love your wife at the end of the day. That has to be the foundation of everything, is show her love in every different way that you can. And I think communication is huge for us. And that's why even earlier talking about the different ways to communicate is just that husbands don't shut your wife off from you, because she may not be your sounding board, you know what I'm saying? But she has to know what's going on. Kind of like what you talked about, Samantha. The wives want to know what's going on. And, if you're not communicating, and if you are going through different things and she's getting on you and all the other kind of stuff, it's because, it may be a reason, because we're not communicating and we're not loving them and we're not doing these different things. So husbands, I, give you all if any advice, if you don't take anything away, listeners, husbands, is to really love your wife with everything you got.
And ladies, respect your husband and boost their ego and just pump them up and make them feel like they are Superman.
I love that. I love that.
Dress up if you got to. Whatever you got to whatever you got to do to keep that spice, keep that
Stop
love
telling
alive.
my secrets.
Okay, sorry.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's the other secret part.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming today. I'm so glad you shared. And you guys can check them out on Unscripted Marriage TV. What's that website to get to you for that?
So it's on YouTube. Unscripted Marriage is on YouTube. On Unscripted Marriage on Instagram. Unscripted Marriage on Facebook. So all three of those. And I believe we also have Unscripted Marriage on Twitter. So Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
And our website
is unscriptedmarriage.com. So you can find us anywhere on there. We're open for booking. So we do travel and speak to different church groups, and it doesn't even have to be a church group. It can be just a group. And we will be starting back filming in January.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate it. This has been fun.
And that's a wrap for now.
Thanks for listening to Flushing It Out with Samantha Spittle. Music provided by twinmusicom.org. Song titled Night at the Dance Hall. Sound editing by me, Jeremy Spittle. A special thanks to our studio sponsor, M&M Exteriors. Visit their website at mmexteriors.com for all of your roofing, siding, and gutter needs in the Northern Virginia area. Visit our website at flushingitout.com and be sure to subscribe. This has been a Spitfire production.
That was the greatest thing I've ever heard.